Folks, today we're diving deep into a story that's stirring up quite the debate on the global stage, and it's all about China's growing frustrations with the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, as you might know it. Now, I gotta tell you, this isn't just a simple dispute. This is about power, fairness, and a big fight for influence in global finances that could affect us all. Let's break it down. China, as you know, is a powerhouse in the global economy, contributing a whopping 18% to the world's GDP. But here's the kicker. Despite that massive slice of the global pie, they're only holding a little over 6% of the votes at the IMF. Now, I'm no math whiz, but even I can tell that doesn't quite add up. This lopsided setup has the folks in Beijing up in arms, arguing that they're not getting the respect or the influence they deserve based on their economic clout. And why is this happening, you might ask? Well, it's largely thanks to the good old US of A, holding onto its veto power with a significant 16.5% of the voting share. Now, the US isn't just sitting on its hands for fun. There are serious concerns here about China's transparency, especially when it comes to their role in global debt and their foreign exchange practices. The US stance? If China wants more power at the IMF, then they've got to play by the rules, ensuring transparency and taking on responsibilities that align with international standards. But it's not just a two-player game. The head of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, she's pushing for changes too. She's out there saying we need to shake up the shareholding structure to better reflect the times we're living in, to make sure everyone's getting a fair shake based on their economic weight. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's where it gets sticky. Any major changes need to go through Congress. And let's just say, in today's political climate, getting Congress to agree on what day it is can be a challenge, let alone on international finance reforms. So what's China doing about it? They're not just sitting around complaining. No, sir, they're looking for alternatives, exploring other ways to flex their financial muscles outside the traditional systems dominated by the West. This move could shake things up in a big way, not just for the IMF, but for global economic stability. We're in for some interesting times, and as always, I'll be right here to break it all down for you, keeping it clear and straight to the point. What do you think? Should the IMF give more power to China, or is the US right to be cautious? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. All right, folks, let's dive into something that's really heating up the international finance scene, the power play within the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. Now get this, the G7 countries, that's our club including the United States, Japan, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Italy, together hold a hefty chunk of the voting shares in the IMF. The US leads the pack with a strong 16.50%. Meanwhile, our friends from BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are on the lower end, with China, despite being a global economic behemoth, holding just over 6%. Now, why does this matter to you and me? Well, it's all about who gets to call the shots in global financial decisions, decisions that affect economic stability, international investments, and yes, even the prices at your local grocery store. The BRICS nations are pretty steamed up. They're saying the current system doesn't reflect the New World Order, where countries like China and India have become major economic engines. They're pushing hard for a shakeup, looking to tip the scales a bit more in their favor. But here's the twist. The G7 isn't too keen on giving up its influence. And why would they be? Control over the IMF means a big say in global economic policies. The US, taking point, argues that if China wants more control, they need to play by the rules, especially when it comes to transparency and how they handle their international loans. There's a lot of talk about China's secretive ways and how they manage their money, particularly in lending to developing countries. Now, China's clapped back, saying they're all about openness and fairness, helping out with infrastructure and development without tying any strings. But wait, there's more. China isn't just defending its position, it's calling on big players like the World Bank to step up in debt relief efforts, suggesting that everyone should share the load in helping poorer countries bounce back financially. Of course, this has ruffled some feathers, with other creditors skeptical of changing a system that's worked in their favor for so long. Folks, what do you think about this tug of war? Should the IMF give more power to nations like China, reflecting the current global economic landscape? Or is the US right in insisting on more transparency and responsibility first? And hey, if you're digging this discussion, don't forget to smash that like button. Drop your thoughts, opinions, and maybe even a bit of your own insight down in the comments. Your engagement is what keeps these conversations going and helps us dig deeper into these complex issues. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your voice matters in shaping the narrative. Folks, let's roll back the clock to 1944, to the Bretton Woods Conference. Picture this: nations reeling from the Great Depression and World War II, coming together to build something new, something to ensure financial stability and prevent future economic disasters. That's where the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, was born. The brainchild of Western powers, led by the United States and the United Kingdom, this global institution was designed to keep exchange rates steady and provide a financial lifeline to countries struggling with their balance of payments. Fast forward to today, and while the world has dramatically changed, the structure of the IMF? Not so much. It's still largely influenced by those who founded it. The United States and other Western nations, due to their hefty financial contributions, have historically enjoyed a bigger say in the IMF's decisions, leaving nations like China feeling shortchanged. Now, China isn't just sitting on its laurels complaining about unfair play. It's pushing hard against the old guard, challenging the status quo of the IMF. Why? Because the game has changed, folks. China has skyrocketed to become a global economic titan, yet it finds the IMF's old-school rules like fiscal austerity and structural adjustments, a bit too stiff, a bit too one-size-fits-all, especially for the diverse needs of developing countries. And here's another layer to this. There's a widespread belief that the IMF, under the historical influence of the US, might be playing politics a bit too much, aligning its strategies with American foreign policy. Now that's a tough pill to swallow for any country trying to play fair in the global arena. So what's China doing about it? They're not just playing defense. They're going on the offensive with alternatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, launched in 2013. This is China's grand plan to rewire global trade by building massive infrastructure from Asia to Africa and beyond, pouring over $1 trillion into these projects. They're building roads, bridges, ports, you name it. But here's the catch. While China touts this as a win-win for economic development, critics from the West throw in accusations of corruption, environmental harm, and a debt trap for the countries involved. China, on its part, defends the BRI tooth and nail, claiming it's all about mutual benefits and sticking to international norms, despite the skepticism and criticism from the West. So what do you think, folks? Is China reshaping global finance for the better, or are they playing a different kind of power game? Could their challenge to the IMF actually lead to a more balanced global economic order, or is it just replacing one dominant force with another? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're unpacking a story of ambition and strategy on the global stage. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is not just about building roads and bridges, it's about reshaping the very nature of global economic power. According to China's foreign ministry, this is a transparent endeavor aimed at boosting development and economic growth in partner countries, challenging allegations that it creates so-called debt traps. China is clear. Their investments do not carry the political strings often associated with Western aid. Ma Ning, the spokesperson for China's foreign ministry, insists that Chinese investments promote transparency and openness, directly countering the West's narrative of secrecy and manipulation. This is about more than just infrastructure. It's about influence and the creation of a new economic tapestry that connects the East with the developing world, bypassing traditional Western-controlled financial systems. As we dig deeper, China's vision becomes even more apparent. They're not just playing the game, they're attempting to redefine it. Through initiatives like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, and the BRICS New Development Bank, China is laying down the groundwork for an alternative global financial architecture. The AIIB, launched in 2016, symbolizes China's bid to offer a different paradigm of development financing, one that promises fewer conditions and more flexibility than those imposed by Western-dominated entities like the World Bank and the IMF. But here's the strategic play. China is also pushing for the renminbi to become a major player in international currency markets, aiming to reduce the global reliance on the US dollar. This is not just about economic policy, it's about positioning the renminbi as a cornerstone of global trade and finance, thereby enhancing China's influence on the world stage. Through these multifaceted efforts, China is not just challenging the existing global order, but is actively working to create a new one where it holds a central role. This is about crafting a world that mirrors the realities of a multipolar landscape, where Western dominance is balanced with Eastern ascendancy. Folks, this is a narrative of transformation, where economic initiatives are not just pathways to development, but instruments of geopolitical influence. China's story is one of rising from the sidelines to the center, reshaping the global economic system in the process. Thank you for tuning in today. If this deep dive into China's global strategy sparked your interest, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support enables us to keep bringing you insights on these critical global developments. Don't forget, another video is up next on your screen. Keep watching for more insightful content. Your engagement and support mean the world to us. Until next time, stay informed and stay connected.